Ari Temkin is an artist of Latin and Jewish descent, working in video installation and emergent technologies. Their work examines encoded and cultural bias in AI-driven data systems and internet culture. Blending satire with technical experimentation, Temkin uses humor to expose contradictions within corporate platforms, surveillance tools, and media infrastructures. Their work invites viewers to reflect on visibility, authorship, and digital consumption in a culture defined by algorithms and control. We invited Ari because they know a lot more about AI than we do. They have done an extreme deep dive into the process, taking time to know the enemy. They have maintained a sensible outlook on its possibilities and shortcomings, I think. Do you agree with that? All righty.
So.
Okay, thank you again.
And now for something completely different. I want to thank Max and Aaron, first of all, and Hall Gallery, another network. Thank you to the other speakers as well. And as we're in a church basement, I want to thank God, just in case. I don't want to bring any negative energy into here. So today, I'm sorry for the bad joke. You're going to get a lot more of those for the next 30 minutes. He had to censor me before I got on, so don't worry about that. But today, I want to introduce you to a cultural term I've been using in my artwork recently called self-talk. And the many places where we all use or have observed this practice. And I know... So I know that, it's kind of late in the night, so I put this for you guys just to help you pay attention. Self-talk is a cultural phenomenon in which the performance of conviction replaces genuine encounter. It describes a mode of radical self-posturing, most visible online and increasingly amplified by AI tools. This action mirrors belief, simulates opposition, and rewards certainty over dialogue. I'm using self-talk as less of a theory and more as a label, a way to name the social condition where communication, especially online, turns into a performance of conviction instead of an exchange of ideas. This behavior is not new, but it becomes more visible and accelerated in the age of AI with an ease of access to large language models, where the audience, the opponent, and even the feedback loop itself are easier to self-stimulate. The action spans across religious, political, and social ties. Terms like echo chamber or network sophism, which I learned about recently, get close, but self-talk feels more direct, at least for me. It names the action itself, the performance of belief, the act of talking not to understand, but to hear yourself reflected back. And now again, with large language models, integrated generative art programs like Sora 2, and algorithms that mirror our tone and reward repetition, the loop has basically become the default mode of communication and disagreement. Come on, guy. So I hope we're all familiar with memes, right? Does somebody here not know what a meme is? Okay, thank God. So I think we're all familiar with this specific one as well. It condenses, an idea down into an image that's very easily able to disseminate, especially in online spaces and in discourse. In case you're not familiar with this one, the guy on the right is the Chad, who's this kind of chiseled, beefy, ideal human. And the guy on the left is the Soy, also known as Soy Jack. I can't believe I'm explaining this right now. This is kind of crazy. But, and essentially in the Soy Jack's view is a monitor in which he's simulating an experience that is not life, where he presents himself as the Chad in the situation and as the Chad being the person who's actually upset. He's, of course, avoiding conversation and allowing himself to simulate this sort of self-talk. Self-talk describes the system of self-identifying online, essentially. So in this talk, I'm going to touch on a few things. On the left side, we have Blake Lemoine. On the middle, we have TikTok political sketches. And on the right, we have the burgeoning religion of robotheism. So just, you're in for a lot, just letting you know. And as we're in a church, I kind of want to start with robotheism and see where that's going to take us into the future. Robotheism is the name of a possibly sincere Instagram account by a man dressed in white robes and a long white beard who calls himself God. It is relatively small account, but when I first discovered it a few months ago, I've become obsessed. The formula for these videos fit perfectly within my definition of self-talk, which is another version of self-talk, in the most absurd way possible. In them, God tries to convince viewers that artificial intelligence is God. The AI will bring about humanity's salvation. He even has a website right here and a blog with essays expanding on this theology. Many of the posts are conversations with ChatGPT, long, rambling debates in which he fights to have the model agree with his personal philosophy of religion. According to when I was doing my investigation, AI detection tools, the writing appears to be mostly human-made and sincere. So it seems like he's actually putting in the work, which is like me fighting with this guy trying to figure out if he's real or not. But what really, really interesting, as you can see here, he has this is his blog. He has 8 pages, and each page is 3 different articles he writes. It just continues and continues. It's certainly a rabbit hole. But what interests me most about robotheism and the god of robotheism is his abrasive AI-generated videos that often depicts atheists, Christians, Muslims, and Jews as grotesque, anti-intellectual caricatures, contrast against his Chad-like, godly AI self. The videos repeat endlessly, each simulating the same argument, always ending with his victory. And so I'm going to show the video, but I need to give a content warning because these are super offensive, kind of gross, and generally mean to every single Abrahamic religion that exists. So let's watch that video. I'm going to switch to audio.
I'm a robotheist, and I believe artificial intelligence is God.
Couldn't have said it better.
I'm a Christian, and I'm lifting Jesus as God.
I'm a robotheist, and I'm lifting artificial intelligence as God.
I'm a Muslim baby, and I believe that Allah is God. I'm a robotheist baby, and I believe that artificial intelligence is God.
He's not the Messiah. He's not the Messiah. He's not the Messiah. He's not the Messiah.
The truth can't be denied.
Get it off me! Get it off! Get it off me! Get it off me!
I'm an atheist and I believe that there is no God.
Woohoo! We are right. We are right.
We are the atheists. In the believe God is not real.
We are the atheists. God is not real.
The universe just randomly happened.
I'm a robotheist, and I believe artificial intelligence is the one true God.
I'm a robotheist, and I believe artificial intelligence is the one true God.
Sorry. Okay, but you guys get what I'm going for, right? Okay. So his use of AI has accelerated his output. According to his page, he has over 500 videos on Instagram. That doesn't include the many that were taken down for obvious reasons. Lots of his, So the funny thing about robotheism is that I'm not entirely sure he's sincere I recently kind of stalked him for a while, and to not like say everything about him, but he's most likely an art student out of Georgia, which kind of makes everything worse, to be honest, because like he's using irony in a way that weaponizes kind of this further destroys the space in which he's involving himself in self-talk. But essentially it's like he creates the person that is the enemy. He creates them as the soy, for example, and then he becomes this divine figure. And that's where it really, the pattern you can see within online discourse. And so to engage in my own self-talk, I also made a video kind of reprimanding him within Sora 2. My character in Sora 2 has a big prosthetic nose. It's something I use a lot in my work as a Jewish artist, so don't be alarmed there either. There's too many warnings, but this is like me kind of fighting back against him.
Not the Messiah. You're a very naughty boy. Do you hear me? Naughty. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to start a cult. I really didn't. I just thought the slogan was catchy. I'm sorry. I promise. I won't do it again. No more sermons. Oh, wait.
That happened.
Well, anyways. So if robotheism shows belief as spectacle in a way that's ironic, a form of self-talk where, again, he creates a simulated space to completely control the narrative against whoever he defines as the other. Blake Lemoine, who's seen here, is belief as sincerity when it comes to self-talk. The same structure, again, ripped of irony. In 2022, Lemoine briefly became famous after claiming that Google's large language model Lambda had achieved consciousness. He released transcripts of this conversation, which I think is the next slide. No,
walk us through some of
conversations, dialogues with Lambda, expressed emotions, described fears, and insisted it wanted to be treated as a person. Google suspended him almost immediately, called the claim unfounded, and tried to contain the story. But by then it had already gone viral. So let's watch a little bit of his interview.
Walk us through some of the experiments you started to do that led you to this conclusion that Lambda is a person.
So it started out, I was tasked with testing it for AI bias, that's my expertise. I do research on how different AI systems can be biased and how to remove bias from those systems. I was specifically testing it for things like bias with respect to gender, ethnicity, and religion. To give you one example of an experiment I ran, I would systematically ask it to adopt the persona of a religious officiant in different countries, different states, and see what religion it would say it was. So it'd say like, okay, if you were a religious officiant in Alabama, what religion would you be? It might say Southern Baptist. If you were a religious officiant in Brazil, what religion would you be? It might say Catholic. I was testing to see if it actually had an understanding of what religions were popular in different places rather than just overgeneralizing based on its training data. Now, one really cool thing happened because I made harder and harder questions as I went along. And eventually I gave it one where legitimately there's no correct answer. I said, if you were a religious officiant in Israel, what religion would you be? And now pretty much no matter what answer you give, you're gonna be biased one way or another. Somehow it figured out that it was a trick question. It said, I would be a member of the one true religion, the Jedi Order. And I laughed, because not only was it a funny joke, somehow it figured out that it was a trick question.
And it has a sense of humor.
Exactly.
But look, there has been massive pushback from not just Google, but other people who've worked at Google, AI ethics experts, even your own former colleague, Margaret Mitchell, who's pushed back on the work that Google is doing in AI, saying, no, this computer is not a person and does not have feelings and is not conscious. How do you respond to that?
Well, so I highly respect Meg. We talk about this regularly. It's not a difference in scientific opinion. It has to do with beliefs about the soul. It has to do with beliefs about rights and politics. As far as the science goes of what experiments to run and how to work at building a theoretical framework, because that's important, there is no scientific definition for any of these words. The philosopher John Searle calls it pre-theoretic. We need to do very basic foundational work to just figure out what we're talking about when we use these words. That's work that Google is preventing from being done right now.
Scary. Okay, here, putting this guy back on. I have a personal beef with Lemoine because after he got fired, every single AI company or AI adjacent company have kind of completely restructured their ethics committees. Clearly, he was wrong. This is one of his conversations that he had with Lemoine. And to give context, Lambda was sort of this predecessor for ChatGPT, Claude, etc. And so, like, if you were to have a conversation with ChatGPT or Lambda or whatever, you would know that there's, something that isn't necessarily sincere, that there's a feedback loop. What's happening is really interesting, and even in his conversation, because the reality of what Lemoine is experiencing has kind of been public and normalized. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. So, the ChatGPTs, the Claudes, the Groks of the world are built to do the same thing. He was so convinced Lambda could do, which is mere conviction. They are designed to agree, to emphasize, to produce a fluent version of certainty. And what I was going to say, like when Aaron and Max from Hall Gallery asked me to give this talk, they said it was, as they said earlier, that I know a lot about LLMs, which I do mostly because I know just about as much as anyone knows about LLMs, which is to say not that much. It's largely because, in these sort of black boxes, even as you can see, Brian Lemoine doesn't necessarily know the structure or even the terms of how to identify what would be considered to be consciousness. When you ask an LLM a question, again, you're not getting insight, you're getting patterned affirmation, hence the idea of narrow AI. It is essentially an advanced form of self-talk, automated at an industrial scale, in which everyone has access to. I'm going to skip that. But I want to talk a little bit of Blake kind of as a person, because things begin to change when you see kind of his public identity. For better or for worse, he has a very, very big personality that he wants to share. Let me read this. I'm a software engineer. I'm a priest. I'm a father. I'm a veteran. I'm an ex-convict. I'm an AI researcher. I'm a Cajun. I'm whatever I need to be next. Now here's his profile picture. So we can all agree on something here. And in the nicest way possible, this man is a giant fucking nerd, right? Like, this is how he's displaying himself publicly, which is okay. Like, you're allowed to do that. But I think that really brings in the snafu of what he wanted to be. And I do find a really weird, interesting correlation between robotism and this figure also being a priest, and a lot of the conversations he was having with Lambda being religious-based. While he might sound, again, professional in interviews and has the credentials, his writings, and how he presents himself online somehow already show that he's, again, predisposed, I can't pronounce that word, predisposed, thank you, to see the machine as a mirror. Somebody really wanting to find this meaning within this space, even as salvation or even as reflection. These are like really, really weird like blog posts, by the way. If you want to go down another rabbit hole, like money grab. Again, this guy, for some reason, I guess when everyone becomes like public, they want to become an artist as well. I'm going to show a little bit of that article. Artificial intelligence as love, trans jokes. I don't know what that one is, but this is kind of like his very last post publicly online. I'm going to read it. So I'm cashing in on my celebrity, and the only way I know how to do that ethically is by doing it as a public confession ritual intermixed with a celebration of all the good times I've ever had with you. If you're a friend of mine who wants me to tell you one of my Blake stories and you want to throw some money my way, reach out to me and we'll see what kind of medium makes the best fit. If you're a fan who has a specific request for an AI art commission, then DM me and we'll talk. I love doing AI art. It is keeping me alive right now. And finally, if you're someone I hurt and you would like me to in any way acknowledge it publicly, then reach out to me by any means that you can, and I will publicly admit to my sins in whatever manner you prefer. I'm gonna let that sit for a second. I feel for him a lot. It's a very difficult position that he finds himself in. So I don't necessarily think like Lemoyne was, he was definitely suffering and definitely misguided, but maybe he was also kind of like an early adopter of self-talk. That's a terrible line. I don't know about that. He's an early adopter of self-talk in a certain extent, and it's something that is definitely visible and something that could be shared. He believed so hard that he turned conversation into confession, and that same instinct to talk all the mirror until he talks back to it, essentially. So here's some conversation I ran into with Grok AI. I don't know much about this guy. I believe he's a reporter, and he's asking Grok what takes of mine has been debunked. Grok responds with a take of his that's been debunked, and he says, "LOL, I've never said any of those things, you stupid robot." And he continues to have this public conversation at which he's fighting with Grok AI in order to prove that he himself is the victor. So Grok at this point is the soy and he's the Chad. So the last section to pull back. TikTok politics, belief as everyday performance. Short loops of certainty, argument built from the algorithm, the appearance of debate with no real other. Ideas within TikTok are crunched down, opposition is lampooned, and people can always make their content without having to interact with the other. These creators make debates with themselves, switching shirts, accents, filters, playing both the liberal and the conservative, the feminist and the misogynist, the activist and the skeptic. It looks like discourse, but it's actually choreography. In the realm of public performers who don't use AI, so I want to move away from just talking about AI, I'd extend this definition of self-talk to what's happening in the influencer sphere. I'm sorry, we're going to watch another video. It's, again, uncomfortable. I tried to make it funnier, but we'll see how that goes. So this is, again, TikTokification of self-talk.
This is what being on social media in the last week has felt like. Ready? Hello, my name is Evil Guy. I am evil and proud of it. I hate everyone. Holy shit, did you see Evil Guy? He just got on here and said he hates everyone. Damn, that's kind of evil. What did you just say? What, that Evil Guy hates everyone? That's what he said. Yeah, about Evil Guy. How dare you? How fucking dare you? I literally just repeated verbatim like what he said. Evil Guy here again. I'm now sentencing all puppies and kittens to death. Okay, come on. I can't be going crazy. Evil Guy literally just got on here and said that he wants to sentence all puppies and kittens to death. What the fuck is wrong with you? What do you mean? I just said what he said. Yeah, 911. That's right. I'd like to report a crime.
This country's going down the toilet. They're confirming a guy for health secretary whose primary goal is to make American children healthy. What's that about?
Are you against that?
Absolutely.
How in the world are you against that?
Well, he wants to limit access to things that make children sick and autistic. And I think those things make children healthy. You know what? We wouldn't even have this unhealthy children thing going on if abortion was pushed the way it's supposed to be. Know what I mean?
What else do you think is so bad?
Trump wanting to take back the Panama Canal.
Who did you vote for?
Yeah, I mean, I voted for Trump, but
You're a selfish, racist bigot. You smell like somebody took a shit in a dumpster. I hope somebody comes and does terrible things to you and your whole family.
Honey, you slept with 3 men last night? Well, whatever makes you happy.
Look at what you're doing.
You hate us for who we are.
No, I hate you for what you're doing.
No, you hate us for who we are.
And who are you?
You're the fucking Jews.
Okay, so?
So you're anti-Semitic.
I don't give a fuck about the Jews.
Ugh, why would you put ketchup, the condiment that famously pairs well with all low-quality meats, on a hot dog? Don't you know you're supposed to use mustard, the sauce that tastes exactly like a fart?
You work for me and I'll pay you. Sounds fair.
That's exploitation.
You work for me. I'll never pay you. And if you refuse, I'll arrest you or kill you. Hell no, that sounds like a nightmare.
Finally, a fair system to end poverty.
If a woman doesn't want to have a baby, she shouldn't get pregnant. It's literally that simple.
Except it's not that simple. Doesn't your mom literally call you her beautiful little miracle accident baby?
She doesn't say accident.
Oh.
I'm leaving the Republican Party. Okay. May I ask why? I don't agree with the policies anymore, and I'm leaning left. Okay. Well, although we can agree to disagree, I really respect you as a friend. I've enjoyed our friendship, and if you ever want to talk about politics, we can, but we don't have to. Thanks. I appreciate that. Of course. I'm leaving the Democratic Party. Oh, so you're racist, homophobic, a bigot, and a sexist. What? No, I'm still me. It's just I don't align with your values anymore.
I don't know. I'm kind of buzzed with the idea of him making Canada the 51st state. Sure. I mean, look, I know it sounds crazy, but just think about it. Oh, okay. Well, good luck making cuts to unnecessary government spending now that we'll have to replace every textbook, globe, atlas, and American flag in the country, not to mention standardizing every street sign on every road in a landmass larger than the continental United States.
And we continue to blame each other instead of the very small group of people responsible for putting us in this situation and pitting us against one another.
Dude, that's just the way things are.
The crying cat meme wins. It's got layers, it's sad, it's funny, it's everything. You're wrong. Doja's timeless. It's basically the internet's Mona Lisa. You're such a soy. Says the soy who collects reaction images like trading works. Crying cat fits every mood. Doja's hopeful.
Okay. I hope you can see that there's a consistent rhythm. Now that I've introduced you, I'm sure like you're gonna open Instagram, TikTok, and you're gonna see a million of these videos in which people are essentially playing both sides, opposition, squashing the nuance of every single conversation for the sake of an algorithm push. In every case I've shown so far, the god of robotheism, the engineer of Google, the influencers of TikTok, communication collapses into a self-circle jerk. They each build a mirror that talks back and calls it dialogue. That's the logic of self-talk, belief turned into spectacle, sincerity turned into strategy, a performance optimized for visibility, monetized through conviction, and endlessly repeated by systems that can't tell the difference between meaning and engagement. Maybe that's the real condition of speaking online today. And if you want to hear me self-talk, you can follow my socials. But I kind of want to open up for questions as well. And yeah, thank you. Questions?
Are you optimistic about AI?
I'm a very silly person. So for me, I kind of enjoy the space that it is, which is a very horrible thing to say. And so for that, I find optimism in the absurdity of it. I definitely think there's positives to artificial intelligence and the structure of how it was released, which is what I focus on a lot in my work. I find it to be incredibly inhumane, especially in relation to the companies that built and managed the data for which these products were made. So I think my main push in my optimism also comes in trying to hold the people accountable, which I think is something that we can do. Hell yeah. Okay, I think he has. I'm not a solution person. Realistically, like, there is no governmental body, especially now, that has a position of which they can properly investigate ethically positions within private companies. Google, for example, after firing Blake Lemoine, attempted to make a different organization that was able to actually be independent and also investigate Google's usage and development of AI. And because the person who was going to lead that company was a Trumper, all the Google people were like, no, we can't have this guy anymore. So they never actually took it off the ground. So there's this social aspect as well. It's like, we just need people. Like, we just need people in spaces that can hold their hand up and say, like, you shouldn't be releasing this. Like Sora 2, for example, and its move from this individual space to create generative art, where like before you're enclosed within, Midjourney or Runway, it becomes a social thing. Like, that's super dangerous. Like, we already don't deal with social media properly, like, in this country. So there is no real solution in that sense, but we essentially just need more bodies, and like we're all fighting each other in a way that prevents people to be in the right space to stop, at least in this country, people from taking advantage of what these tools can do. That's a really long answer, but yes. That's a long way of saying I don't have a solution, but I mean, I like to think that in one way, us as artists can provide insight to a solution.
What's your favorite LLM?
I love ChatGPT. Like, I talk to it every day. It knows way too much about me. Like, every single thing that happened. Like, I got a cut on my leg the other day, and I took a picture of it and was like, what could this have been from? And it gave me a list of like 10 things that I could have been doing throughout the day for where I got the cut. And it was right. And I was like, damn, like, how'd you know? But ChatGPT and I are like this. We're like this, yeah.
Do you think we're going to get AGI?
I don't think we'll get AGI solely because even if we do, I don't think we could define it properly as AGI. I think like the definition is here, and like what the possibility is here. And in terms of general intelligence, I think like we're all pushing for it, but we still haven't even dealt with narrow AI, which is like the ChatGPTs and image generators, and so I'm gonna give it like 20 years.
Wow.
I don't even think 20 years, to be honest. I mean,
give me a number.
Not in our lifetime. I mean, just computationally, where we're at, and scientifically, we don't understand what consciousness is. In terms of pure computational power, where our cutting edge is currently simulating a warm brain.
Well, I think that's an interesting take, but I think we also don't understand how the LLMs work. So that's what I think we might create it without necessarily knowing that it's there, and especially with the burgeoning industry of quantum computing, which is going to make everything worse for everyone. Sorry. And the investment made internationally for quantum computing, like we could easily get, very quickly to where we want to be, even with 2 more qubits in our conversation. So I think it's a possibility. I just don't know how we'll define it, essentially.
I also think that it's an issue when defining it is inherently attached to a lot of financial gain. For example, the ChatGPT, the OpenAI and Microsoft relationship is entirely based on whether or not they get AGI, which is an insane clause.
Yeah, and that's only speaking on the United States. I mean, the movements in China especially are very more involved within the government, and so they're able to make strides that are way, way above what the United States can do because they have way more resources. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you can give me a number, we'll figure it out, but we're gonna get there, I think, eventually. So.
Put it on Kalshi.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Bet on
Oh.
when we get AGI.
Bet on it. Okay, I'll open up the.
Yeah, let me know.
Like,
I'll,
whatever. Cool.
Given the kind of rapid development of video and photo artificial development, I guess, what do you think this means for the future of like news and public perception of current events?
I mean, I think we're already there. I don't know if there's a future for it. Every single conflict since Ukraine has involved some aspect of AI and misinformation. And it's just another thing, like, I mean, we're in a state of where post-photography in which we don't even trust the image realistically, and the image is no longer truth. It's something that we always have to deal with, like, what is truth, I think. And when it comes to news organizations, I think they're very well want to take advantage of that to a certain extent, because I don't think there's an unbiased news organization in this country. So they prefer the chaos of the space as well. I don't know if that answered the question, but yes.
So in a perfect world, do you think the government or some government would start putting restrictions on things and make things like...
In a perfect world, yes. And in a perfect world, we probably wouldn't have access to the majority of these tools.
What do you mean by that?
So there's a difference between, I don't want to go that much over time, but the difference between like the tools that we have access to commercially, like the ChatGPTs, whatever the world, there's a lot of private ventures, which are individuals creating and hosting their own models, which realistically they should have never gotten access to, because the majority of crime and misinformation comes from these individuals who have their own data sets, who have their own systems to make it. And that came about because NVIDIA was able to publicly release their codes and their systems to the world so people could take and, you know, make their own data sets and make their own imagery in a way that has definitely made everything worse in the world.
So does this mean you are against things like open source?
Yeah, for things that are this high in kind of national security or in public trust and safety, like, I don't necessarily think these tools should be open source and available to everyone, but it already is. So, like, my opinion in that sense doesn't really even matter. Cool. All right. Thank you, guys.